Minneapolis sculptor Paul Olson has carved out quite a career for himself, despite having no formal art training. The Concordia College graduate regularly sells his work to Twin City businesses. We spent some time with Paul to see how he creates.
And I've gotten into pieces lately that move, that you can move them around. Kids like them a lot. But the kinds of things that I do have a lot of movement and negative space, and wood works really well for that. The original idea for the piece started with just some wire. Before doing it in wood, I made a mock-up in styrofoam, which then helped give me an idea where the pieces should be cut and how they should be glued together. But with more solid pieces, I'll often work with small bits of clay, just play around with them, and till I get a form that I like, and then I start working, trying to figure out how I can do it in wood. I usually have an idea going in what the wood form is gonna look like, rather than, I don't start with a block of wood and then try and find the sculpture within it. Doesn't work so well for me. I taught at Concordia for a couple of years in the English department. Got a master's degree in library science and did that. That's what I was doing in Chicago, and working in a network of medical libraries. I've never done this before. I've never taken an art class before. It'd be something different to do. It'd be also a way of meeting people in the classes and stuff. And so I started with the basics. You started with drawing and some printmaking, and then they gave us some clay, and then it was just like, oh, this is cool. And so for the 6 years that I lived in Chicago, I took art classes all in sculpture. I do a lot of design work upstairs and outside, but when it comes to working with the wood, that's all down here pretty much. When we first moved to Minneapolis in '79, I thought, and I had quit my job, and I thought, well, I'll just do sculpture. And I went to a couple of art fairs, and it was like I didn't sell a thing, you know. I thought, well, this is not going to work out. This has been glued up. It's a different form. It's in two parts. It's going to be a treble clef. And I don't glue this last part together. I work them separately, sand them separately and everything until the very end, so that I can get in the interior and work on it without running into the other side. So I don't make a complete living at it. It's about half of my living. Never have enough claims. Once I got going a little further and got a little more experience and people became more interested, I started to sell a little bit. And then I had a couple of commissions from, these were people that are in the business of finding art for corporations and places like that, and that kind of got that going a little bit. That's why I keep doing art fairs, because I get that feedback. I only do a couple art fairs a year, but and sometimes you can see it in their eyes, especially now with some of the pieces that I'm doing that have movement in them. You can see the little kid kind of come out, and kids play with them too, and I think, wow, that's really neat, that it means something to somebody else. And I've done pieces which were memorial pieces for people who had lost loved ones, and those pieces just really touched them, and that's really an experience for me. Use a mini grinder with a bit that does a lot of the carving for me. It's a great tool. I used to do hammers and chisels and stuff. I don't do much of that anymore. Well, it's interesting to get lost in a place that can be so messy, because it's dust all over the place. Sculpture is a physical process, and you get going just putting things together and shaping them, and the time just flies. Actually, for me, if I don't do it, if I'm away from my art for a while, it's like this. I've got to get back to it. And so I think the people that have that burning desire in them, they'll do it. And so my my suggestion is don't worry whether it sells or not, but do what you love. What I've found is if I try and make a piece of art to fit what I think other people want, it usually doesn't work. And so if I just play at and work on what turns me on, and it's successful, then usually it works for other people as well. And so I'm not sure. It's kind of magic in a way.
Prairie Mosaic is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and by the members of Prairie Public.